What is poetry? Believe it or not, most people struggle to answer this question. Most times individuals will give their interpretation as opposed to a solid definition. Even the major dictionaries differ greatly at times in defining what a poem is. Here's what a few popular dictionaries have to say. Webster's Dictionary, metrical writing. Writing that formulates a concentrated, imaginative awareness of experience in language chosen and arranged to create a specific emotional response through meaning, sound, and rhythm. Oxford Dictionary, literary work in which special intensity is given to the expression of feelings and ideas by the use of distinctive style and rhythm. Beautiful. But we're not going to count this definition, just mentioning it for fun. Now, if we break it down even further, out of the 6 definitions given, 4 of them mention sound or spoken word. 3 out of the 6 mention experience. 4 out of the 6 mention imagination, or it having to be imaginative. 3 out of the 6 mention emotion and feelings. 6 out of the 6 mention rhythm, that they are written in a rhythmic format. So the only trait each dictionary feels is important to mention in its definition of poetry is rhythm. It is good to note here, before we move further along, a brief etymology of the word poetry. That is right. The irony of it all is we're about to do what we said most people do at the beginning of this episode. We're going to give you an interpretation, but it will be one comprised of all the popular English dictionaries and the etymology of the word. And you're in luck. We have 2 definitions for you. 1. In the broader sense of the definition, poetry is the creation of imagination, experience, and life. Flowers blooming, a child's mind expanding, or a breathtaking rendition of your favorite ballet is all poetry. Remember, the root of the word is to make. In a more narrow sense of the definition, poetry is a written and oral tradition composed of rhythmical words describing an experience or something of one's imagination in a way deemed beautiful and more concentrated than ordinary speech. A little wordy, but I ask, how else do you describe the almighty describer? Moving forward in this series, this will be our definition of what poetry is. I hope this has helped some, and woohoo! You stuck around to the end and you survived my crude animation.
One of the clearest places to find good metaphors is in poems. Take this haiku by the 18th century Japanese poet Issa. On a branch floating down river, a cricket singing. The first way to meet a metaphor is just to see the world through its eyes. An insect sings from a branch passing by in the middle of the river. Even as you see that, though, some part of you recognizes in the image a small portrait of what it's like to live in this world of change and time. Our human fate is to vanish, as surely as that small cricket will, and still, we do what it does. We live, we sing. Sometimes a poem takes a metaphor and extends it, building on one idea in many ways. Here's the beginning of Langston Hughes's famous poem, Mother to Son. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor. Langston Hughes is making a metaphor that compares a hard life to a wrecked house you still have to live in. Those splinters and tacks feel real. They hurt your own feet and your own heart. But the mother is describing her life here, not her actual house. And hunger and cold, exhausting work and poverty are what's also inside those splinters. Metaphors aren't always about our human lives and feelings. The Chicago poet Carl Sandburg wrote, "The fog comes on little cat feet. It sits looking over harbor and city on silent haunches, and then moves on." The comparison here is simple. Fog is being described as a cat. But a good metaphor isn't a puzzle or a way to convey hidden meanings. It's a way to let you feel and know something differently. No one who's heard this poem forgets it. You see fog, and there's a small gray cat nearby. Metaphors give words a way to go beyond their own meaning. They're handles on the door of what we can know and of what we can imagine. Each door leads to some new house and some new world that only that one handle can open. What's amazing is this. By making a handle,